most obvious repeated image in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is this shot. We see it at the start of the movie when our first Spider-Man describes how no matter what happens, he always gets back up. Then we see it halfway through the story when our new Spider-Man, Miles Morales, fails to get back up. And it reappears at the climax when Miles finally does stand up. I think that's fairly obvious, we all saw this. It's also impossible not to see Miles' cool new black Spider-Man suit. And of course, when we see Miles creating it himself, he's spray painting it, another image we saw earlier in the film. In particular, the black spray paint on Miles' suit was used to create the centerpiece of the mural from earlier. A lonely dark figure contrasted with a bright background that reads, "No expectations." This is, of course, another obvious link to another piece of the story. No expectations is reminiscent of great expectations, the essay Miles is writing about who he wants to be. But that's not the first time we see this phrase in the movie. It's introduced in the montage of Miles trying to keep up with the stress of attending Vision's Academy. Miles is pressured both by his teachers assigning the work and his parents making him go to the academy. When his dad drops him off, we hear Miles make the argument that he doesn't deserve to attend Visions, despite having already proven that he has what it takes.
I'm only here because I won that stupid lottery.
No way. You passed the entry test just like everybody else, okay?
So when Miles sits down to think about the expectations being put on him, he decides to run to a place where there aren't any. And we know this is exactly what he's doing because he spells it out in 5-foot-tall letters. The next time we see this mural, it's just a bit different. In Miles' sketchbook, we can see that he hasn't decided yet. Is it really no expectations he wants, or will he take on great expectations? At his lowest point, Miles decides to reject the expectations like he did before. And just in case we didn't notice that, this scene also starts with Miles shoving the actual book, Great Expectations, off of his desk. And we can of course understand where he's coming from. At this point, Miles has failed to live up to what other people had hoped for him. He broke the key a Spider-Man gave him, and he wasn't able to perform when another Spider-Man vouched for his talent. Worst of all, he now feels responsible for the death of one of the most important people in his life. But his rejection is itself rejected, and over the course of this scene, Miles is taught a number of lessons that will have him rethinking his attitude. First, the spiders tell Miles that they've all failed at some point or another. It's tragic, but it doesn't make them give up on being heroes. And next, Peter B tells Miles something that Miles really needs to hear.
When will I know I'm ready?
You won't. It's a leap of faith.
Up to this point, we've seen Miles insist that he can't succeed, even when everybody around him assures him that's not true.
You're trying to quit, and I'm not gonna let you.
I can't do this without you.
You can do this.
I gotta do something, and I don't know if I can do it.
You're on your way. Just keep going.
Finally in this scene, Miles' father appears to lift the last of Miles' burdens.
I see this spark in you. It's amazing. It's why I push you, but it's yours. Whatever you choose to do with it, you'll be great.
Miles realizes that people's expectations of him are not obligations, but rather recognition of the opportunities he has. And we know this because at the start of the movie, his dad says,
"You have an opportunity here. You want to blow that, huh?"
At the end of the movie, we see our mural one more time, where it has finally settled on great expectations. Miles has learned to fulfill his potential, both in his daily life and as Spider-Man. The expectations put on him aren't depicted as a shadow haunting him, but as a symbol of his heroism. Not too long after, Miles says,
Anyone can wear the mask. You could wear the mask.
and we all know exactly what he means by this, because we were told directly earlier in the movie. In Mary Jane's eulogy, she says,
My husband, Peter Parker, was an ordinary person. He always said it could have been anyone behind the mask. He was just a kid who happened to get bit. He didn't ask for his powers. But he chose to be Spider-Man.
This whole sentiment is also, of course, echoed in Miles' situation at Vision's Academy. He didn't ask to be admitted, but he can choose to make full use of the opportunity.
I'm only here because I won that stupid lottery.
Of course, not everybody does take their opportunities. Spider-Verse gives us a foil to Miles in the form of the Kingpin. Like the Spider People, Kingpin made a mistake that cost him people he cared about. But for the Spiders, this leads to personal growth. Each of them had to choose to keep being a hero, even in the face of tragic failure. Kingpin never learned his lesson. Despite the lengths he goes to undo the result of his mistake, he immediately repeats the mistake itself at the first opportunity to do so. This is plainly contrasted by the infinite web of potential universes behind him. Everything he ever possibly could be is out there, but he chooses to remain exactly the same. Conversely, Miles understands what it means to fail and get back up, and as the collider shuts down, he sees an endless web of possibilities spread before him. But, I mean, you already knew that. I know, and you know, that this is just a movie about being Spider-Man. And we know that anybody can be Spider-Man. You just need to look for the opportunity and take it. Whenever you can be a better person, whenever you can be your best self, and even when you aren't sure that you can do it, especially when you aren't sure that you can do it, you always get back up. Obviously.